TexAgs on 102.7 FM. I'm your host, Ryan Brauninger. We are back after a week off. We hope you enjoyed your spring break. If you had one, it was very apparent coming back into town yesterday. I was at the Houston opening regionals in Katy and had a baseball practice here in town that I was supposed to get back to about 4:30. Left Katy at 2:45, got on Highway 290, and I guess everybody going back to Baylor, A&M, Texas, Texas State, any school that was in Central Texas was all using 290. It took me 2.5 hours to get back from Katy yesterday afternoon. Needless to say, I was not able to make my baseball practice here in town, but it was nice being able to come and go as you please over the course of a week and not have to worry about traffic here in town. But the students are back, and we are just 2 days away now until from A&M starting spring practice, the second version of spring practice, or the second edition of spring practice under A&M head coach Jimbo Fisher. We'll get Liucci's thoughts on that as he's been writing away on TexAgs.com. If you're on the premium side of TexAgs, you've gotten to read a lot of Liucci's thoughts on his on the upcoming spring practice. Beliucci Hour. We have not talked about the basketball coach. Billy Kennedy let go, and the Aggies are now in search of their next head basketball coach. Get right on top of that, and I think it's one of these things with the NCAA tournament coming up. Knowing the reputation of Scott Woodward, there may be some implications on the next coach possibly participating in the tournament. I don't know anything. We'll get Liucci's thoughts to kind of see what direction he expects Scott Woodward to go in. And then I guess the highlight of this past week, it had to have happened on Saturday about the 8th inning at Olsen Field. And you want to talk about the trajectory of a season and maybe even if there is a season-altering win on the schedule. If you'll go back and you'll remember a couple of years ago, A&M kind of struggling, putting along in SEC play, and they go down to Baton Rouge and playing on Sunday in a rubber game in Baton Rouge, and things not going A&M's way. And they go out there in the top of the ninth, and I think in about 4 hitters had tied with 2 outs. 2 outs in the ninth, 4 hitters in a row reach base, and it was capped off by a Walker Pennington pinch hit home run. The bottom half of the inning, A&M shuts out LSU, gets a diving play by Nick Chorby to win the series, and then the outlook on the entire season changed from that point on. If that happens with this A&M baseball team, you're going to look at that 8th inning on Saturday and say that was the key moment. That's where this thing turned around. And I'll tell you this, because through 9 innings on Friday night and through 7 innings on Saturday, it did not look good for A&M. And there was a lot of questions being asked, and you had to take inventory of a lot of aspects of the team, and really out of nothing in an 8th inning where Vanderbilt had walked A&M all weekend and put A&M on base all weekend, the Aggies continued to struggle with runners in scoring position. Jonathan Dukoff with a huge 2 RBI single, and then the swing of the season so far was Cameron Blake, bases clearing triple to tie the game in the 8th inning. The Aggies walk it off in the 9th, and then and just a wild scene at Olsen Field on Saturday. Then on Sunday, who could have seen that performance coming from Christian Roa? 7 strong innings from him. The Aggies shut out Vanderbilt to win the series 7-0. Luch, there's a lot to talk about.
And Billy Kennedy was fired.
You weren't here when I started discussing
the flounder.
Here's
the thing.
So I didn't know where you wanted to start. We haven't met in a week, so we had basketball coach.
My buddies over there at lunch were telling me to be 1 minute late to see if you could have them penciled into Omaha by the end of that minute. So I'm asking the front table. That's a big-time series win for them, though. I mean, I was at that game Saturday, and, it really – you were – I guess you were 2 at-bats away
6 outs away
from losing that series and then putting a lot more pressure on your pitching on Sunday. It would have been a pressure situation, and they turned it on its head. That bottom, you don't want to in baseball, like you said, they made a lot of errors Sunday. Vandy did. They walked a lot of guys. Sometimes in walks, though, too, you also, as you know better than I do, you have to credit the hitting approach as well. But you don't want to put too much on it. But that 8th inning is one of those deals where you might look back on it as like a season turner.
I said 2 years ago at LSU, and then they had that top of the 9th where Pennington hit the go-ahead home run with 2 outs, and then Chorby makes the diving play. They win the series in Baton Rouge, and that team goes to Omaha. Inning in the swings by Jonathan Dukoff and Cam Blake and say, that's where it got to go. And as a baseball team and as a coach, Liucci, I can tell you that much like with anything in sports, you need something to grab onto and just be confident, right? And the swing to tie it up when A&M had struggled so much all year getting that big hit. The triple, the bases clearing triple to tie the hitters for Vandy up and down the order. And then for Christian Roa to do what he did on Sunday, there was talk to Scott Clendenin, and then you read Hop's post game, and I don't know. I wouldn't know if I would call it.
Are you quoting?
No, I wouldn't call it. They were
right
calling it one of the more not dominant performances, but like efficient. It was like he went through against that offense 7 innings on 90 pitches, and just an incredible performance out of nowhere. And I think that was the thing, was like you thought you might get 2 times through the lineup for getting to get 7 innings, and to cap that series was. Like I said, it was unforeseeable, I think, in time the way he performed. So A&M got Rice tomorrow night, then they go on the road to Kentucky. Huge weekend. The story of college baseball in the opening weekend was Texas A&M nationally. Yeah. And the Aggies entered the poll, or not entered the polls, but moved up to the polls today at number 13.
Okay. Deserved.
13, and that 6 out of the 6 of the top 18 are SEC West. I want to get your thoughts on the basketball thing too, and kind of the direction that this thing's going to go, because with the NCAA tournament still out there, and like I said off the top of the show, just knowing Scott Woodward's reputation and his expectation, it's like there could be some implications of some coaches still coaching, and A&M have to wait a little bit.
Well, I mean, you're going to have to wait. No one – they're going to hire someone that's coaching in the NCAA tournament. That much I'm certain of. And I think all signs, and it's what I've been hearing since this thing started – weeks and weeks ago, where it was speculation, or just the as it became increasingly likely that it would happen, is Buzz Williams is a primary. Look, sometimes it's not that complicated, right? I'm not saying Buzz is the only answer, and I'm not saying Buzz is the only guy that Scott Woodward looked at, because it's not. But sometimes it's not that complicated. And if you look around college basketball right now, and you say, who could Texas A&M hire at this type of salary? And yes, folks, they are swinging big in terms of the salary. This is not a Jimbo Fisher $7.5 million hire. This is also not football at Texas A&M. It's basketball. But it is a night and day difference. When Buzz Williams gets approached or got approached this time by Texas A&M, it's a hell of a lot different than it was a few years ago when they hired, or a few years ago, 8 years ago when they hired Billy Kennedy. It's a lot different. They did not have the money to go get, or weren't willing to spend, or didn't have the money to go get Buzz Williams from Marquette, which it's pitiful that Virginia Tech did. It's pitiful that, South Carolina could go make a hire like a Frank Martin away from Kansas State after he took him to an Elite Eight, and South Carolina got him, and now they got a Final Four out of it. Texas A&M has never historically shown that level of commitment, that level of, or that desire to go out and be great at basketball. And I know they got in the right guy. They had the right guy in Billy Clyde, and Bill Byrne. I will say this about Bill Byrne: he did everything he could to keep Billy Clyde, and right up till the very end, did everything he could. Wasn't happening. And Bill Byrne made a good hire in Mark Turgeon, but and Billy Gillespie. But my point is this: those are 2 slam dunk basketball hires, and that's what ultimately got them. And we talked about this a lot last week. It was just the consistency wasn't there. The up and down. You go to 2 Sweet 16s, you get beat by 20-something points. But look, 2 Sweet 16s, an SEC regular season title, an epic overtime battle for an SEC tournament title. Some unforgettable, maybe
the greatest comeback in tournament history.
I would say maybe the 2 biggest postseason wins in Texas A&M history. I would say that. Maybe the one in the 80s where they beat North Carolina in multiple overtimes, right, to go to the Sweet 16. So 2 of your top 3 postseason wins ever for Texas A&M basketball. Beating Louisville and Rupp would be top 5. But that come from behind against Northern Iowa, which you said arguably the greatest comeback in tournament history. and then beating North Carolina by 20, the defending national champs, Roy Williams in Charlotte. But again, up and down. But getting back to the point about Buzz Williams, so you show this level of commitment that you were unable or unwilling to show back then. Folks, basketball, it's really fun to be really good at it, and we've gotten plenty.
This is the most fun time of the year if you've got a team in the tournament.
And we've gotten plenty of tastes of that over the years, and we've seen Reed Arena sold out on weekends. We've seen 8, 9, 10,000 people there at midweek games in the conference. There's no reason why you can't get there and stay there. Get there and stay there. And instead of a couple coaches ago with Turgeon and a lot of Aggies were turned off because he always whined about the lack of attendance, I think you're going to have a guy in Buzz Williams if you get him, and I feel confident. Again, I said this morning, Bronny, it's never done till it's done. And when a coach is still coaching games, I mean, what if they went to a Final Four at Vatech and just the emotions ran high? It's like, I can't leave this. But, who knows? But I feel very good about the fact that I think for the second time in as many major sports, Scott Woodward will end up getting his guy. But here's the thing about this. It really isn't that complicated. You have a certain amount of money that you can spend. So there's your pool. Is you can't go get Jay Wright. You're not going to get, Roy Williams or Bill Self, whatever, Calipari. You know what your cap is. And out of that pool, in my opinion, watching college basketball, two people stand out to me. For this job at this place, I like Buzz Williams and I like Chris Beard at Tech. Those are the two guys to me that when you look at their background, their ties, their personality, and we see with Jimbo Fisher, you've seen it with R.C. Slocum and Jackie Sherrill and Billy Gillespie, how much the personality fit matters to our fan base and to the community. Gary Blair is another good example. That stuff matters a lot here, and it matters, like you saw Jimbo Fisher during that Clemson game and what the crowd did. And I really think that moment, and it carried over, and people were excited about Kentucky and LSU, and they didn't want to give up. And the personality thing, and to me, both those guys would have fit there. I think Buzz, he's a guy from Van Alstyne, Texas. He's 46 years old. He could come in if he ends up being the guy and end his career at A&M with a nice, lengthy, very successful run. And then the question becomes, who has A&M ever dreamt of hiring that's been to essentially 3 Sweet 16s, 2 Sweet 16s plus an Elite 8. So they've been advanced to the Sweet 16 3 times, been to an Elite 8 at Marquette.
It'll be the most decorated coach they've ever hired.
Big East championship at Virginia Tech week and again this week. Every coach they've hired, Shelby Metcalf was an in-house promotion, right? Front table. Am I right about that? Every coach they've hired since then,
they'll learn you something down there.
Every coach they've hired since then has been a mid-major that had one successful weekend in the NCAA tournament. You go Tony Baroni, Creighton, Melvin Watkins, Charlotte, Billy Gillespie, UTEP, Mark Turgeon, Wichita State. He'd been to the tournament one time in 7 years, went to a Sweet 16. The next year finished just over 500, didn't make the tournament, and was hired. Mm-hmm. And then Billy Kennedy at Murray State. I mean, that's A&M's basketball history. And those guys have been successful to varying degrees, particularly the last 3. But that's their hiring history. And again, credit Bill Byrne for really I wouldn't quite say 3 for 3 on it, but Billy Clyde was a hit, Turge was a hit, and BK was up and down, but I think you call that a successful hire. You do. When he lasted 8 years and went to 2 Sweet 16s and won a conference championship, that's a successful hire.
Yep.
Now, would you have wanted it to, be more successful there in the early going? Yeah, but it was a successful, good hire. Those are hard to do when you're picking out of the mid-major ranks. It usually doesn't work that way.
It's a lot of swing and miss in there.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I think to go in, and it's not that complicated. Like, find the guy that you believe can win and win consistently and hopefully win big, and turn basketball into the moneymaker. It really has the potential to be. Yep. Energize the fan base and be a part of March Madness every year, like A&M was for 7 straight seasons under Gillespie and Turgeon, and get that back. And I think, again, Buzz is experienced. He's a veteran in the coaching ranks.
A lot more to get to on the other side of the break. You listen to Beliucci Hour Lunch live on The Zone.
On Sports Radio 1150, Zone 102.1.7 FM, and online at radioaggieland.com. Chip Howard.
There's a Kubota for every job. There's a Kubota for every harvest. There's a Kubota for every task. And at Normandy Tractor, for a limited time only, let Vernon and the boys show you what they have. Get the new Kubota L2501 DT 24.8 horsepower tractor loader with quick attach bucket and quick hitch and 5-foot shredder now through June 30th for a cash price of only $15,899. Our payments as low as $160 per month based on 20% down, 0% APR for 84 months. And remember, most any trade-in can be your down payment. Normandy Tractor has over 8 acres of Kubota tractors, Kubota RTVs, ATVs, and Kubota mowers to choose from. Normandy Tractor voted best to the Brazos since 2002. Corner of Highway 39 and OSR in Normandy, Texas. Shop more Kubota package deals at NormandyTractor.com for the largest selection and guaranteed best prices on your Kubota tractor, ATV, utility vehicle, and farm equipment needs. Nobody beats Normandy Tractor. Nobody.
When you or your loved ones need emergency medical care fast, remember Signature Care Emergency Centers. We're available 24 hours a day to deliver on-demand and the most reliable care for you. Our experienced nurses and board-certified physicians have years of unmatched experience. Our state-of-the-art facilities will get you the most effective treatment, period. Plus, we accept all major private insurance carriers for your convenience. For more, call 213-5728 or click ercare24.com. Signature Care Emergency Center, located on Texas Avenue South, across from Kohl's.
You need help if you've been charged with a crime. The justice system is daunting. You need an experienced defense lawyer to obtain the best results for you. Steve Gustitis, attorney at law, has been helping people fight criminal charges for over 20 years. Call Steve Gustitis now to schedule your free consultation. 823-9111. Qualified people are ready to take your call. Let Steve Gustitis put his experience to work for you. 823-9111. Visit GustitisLaw.com today and get the help that you need.
It's the 2019 Brazos County Youth Livestock Show. Events and livestock shows begin Tuesday, March 19th and end with premium auction on the final day, Saturday, March 23rd. The 63rd Annual Brazos County Youth Livestock Show at the Brazos County Expo Center, sponsored by the American Momentum Bank, BTU, WRI Tractors, and Texas Farm Bureau Insurance. Experience all the excitements of the 2019 Brazos County Youth Livestock Show at the Brazos County Expo Center. For a full list of shows and times, visit bcyla.net.
Your home for Texas A&M softball is Willie 1550 AM. Willie 1550 AM.
Welcome back to the Beliucci Hour Lunch live on Sports Radio 1150 The Zone 102.7 FM. Ryan Brauninger and Beliucci with you back here at the Tap on Harvey Road. Don't forget Monday night's karaoke on the stage here at the Tap. Wednesday night piano bar. Tuesdays and Fridays they have got crawfish.
We got it again. Asher came and coughed into my water. I got to get a new one now.
Now you're done. We have got 2 days until spring ball. But, Liucci, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about – we got a quick segment because you went a little long on the basketball talk, which was fine. We hadn't talked about that.
Sorry about that.
But wanted to talk to you yesterday. So yesterday I'm at the Houston Opening Regionals, and just the performance of Damon Demas, second highest spark score, or top spark score for a receiver, he told me that he ran 4.29 and 4.37. I do know that it was hand-timed on his fastest man. He was the fastest man there at 4.37 or 4.36, excuse me, measured in at 6'2", 190 pounds, and then just dominated the one-on-ones, earned an opening regional or opening finals invite, as did Texas A&M cornerback commit Jalen Jones. This kid, he didn't do hardly any camps last year, Liucci, and he started to show up to these things, and it's only putting a stamp on him being the most complete freak of an athlete at wide receiver that I think this state has produced. And we were talking amongst the analysts there yesterday. People were saying,
well, some of those guys, God knows, they know everything about.
Like there are other ones they were
football.
comparing where Des Bryant. I'm like, Damon's he runs way better than Des. And like Des was big and strong, was a top athlete coming out of Lufkin, but this kid is different. And if A&M, and it sounds like he's wearing A&M gloves,
He's
he's wearing
faster
A&M
than Des, first and
right.
foremost.
But he's wearing A&M gloves, the gear, openly recruiting for A&M at these events. If A&M signs him, which and all indications are pointing more and more like they will, this will be the best wide receiver prospect I think Texas A&M has ever signed.
Yeah, no question about it. You go back to he's doing things. Dez is a guy that you would bring up as one of these guys out of the state where he's just spectacular and special and unlike many you'd seen. And where the similarities are is the way they attack the football, kind of the acrobatic manner in which they can go get it. That's the big similarity. And they're both big receivers. I think Demas is taller than 6'2". I know his hair makes him look a lot taller.
Well, he's wearing that bonnet now.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I'm good with it. It's got a little strawberry shortcake flair. I like it.
He owns it. Yeah, he owns it. It's actually really funny.
He ought to change it up to do like the light blue one, like the blue. My sister used to have those toys. I'd break them, and then she'd find like an old like G.I. Joe or one of those He-Man and break it. It was like an ongoing thing. But so I don't know. Like I forget what that blueberry one's called. I'm gonna have to look it up. They're like blueberry muffin and strawberry shortcake were what they were.
Yeah, it's
one time here's an awful thing I did, by the way. My sister had cabbage. Remember the Cabbage Patch Kids? They were huge in the 80s. That's when they came out. Like you had moms fighting over them at the mall and stuff. Like Toys R Us riots. I mean, they were the thing.
They were one of about 5 toy items that made people just lose their minds over the course of my lifetime.
Like the Furbies
and the Pokemon and the Furbies were the big one. There was another one in there too.
Oh, the Paddington Bear or whatever the bear was, where you could pull the string and he'd talk. But there was another one along the way. Oh, Tickle Me Elmo.
Yeah.
The Tickle Me Elmos, but those were all after. But this was the first. I think Cabbage Patch Kids were the first time this happened. Even like one of my buddies, like Greg Fowler, one of my best friends in elementary school, like even like guys would get them. They were hard to get. You'd get like I never did. Never owned a Cabbage Patch Kid. And I did go and cut. I got pissed at my sister about something. I went and cut the hair off of all her Cabbage Patch Kids. I got in pretty big trouble for that one. They had like what is it, like not like something you'd sew with, like just like string but thick, and I cut the hair off of those little.
So how did we get onto this after talking
those
about
little bastards? Some of them were bald anyway. I made them all bald, but it was
something wrong with you. Man.
Oh yeah,
you're not a nice person.
That's just devilish. Yeah. That's just bad.
Diabolical.
Like Damien over here, you started off on. We were talking about Damon Demas, but that bonnet. But I think you go back to Roy Williams. Okay, so since I've been covering this for a long time now, the best two I've seen come out where you go, absolute can't miss, were Des Bryant and Roy Williams. Actually, both, ironically enough, ended up Dallas Cowboys. And Roy wasn't a great pro, but he wasn't a bad one. And he was a pretty damn good college receiver. I think he kind of there was a little bit to him that led to him kind of never quite being the dominant player he could be. Des maxed out. Des was an absolute dog, like the way he competed and stuff like that. And I think you see that in Demas. Demas is kind of a combination of those two guys. He's got like but I think he's better. He runs better. I know as a prospect looking at him today, he's better than both of them at that age. He's
I mean,
better than Dez, and he's better than Roy Williams going into his senior year in high school.
So I'm sitting there watching him do his vertical leap, and it's one of those where the pad measures the time your feet leave the ground so your feet hit the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how they calculate your vertical jump. His first one was like 36 and a half. He jumps again, 37, 37 and a half, 38, 38 and a half. And so he was between 38 and a half and 39 on with no step. Like, it's a weird how they measure. Like, nobody gets the 38, 39s. And he just kept going and going. Like, sitting there going, if they let him jump long enough, he's going to get to 40.
Yeah.
You know, because and he competes. He's just a complete package, man. And now that he's in a better situation off the field at Tomball, and he's also got a quarterback there in Hunter Dunn that's going to be able to get him the football.
That's a big.
He is going to put up insane numbers. Yeah. Like, you're going to see high school secondaries put 3 guys on him, and it's going to be weekly that they're going to do that.
Yeah, no, he has potential to be, like what Mike Evans was at A&M, Larry Fitzgerald. You go back, you talk about Dez at Oak State. He can be a truly dominant wideout. And I'm going to tell you, and you watched another one of them yesterday in Troy O'Meara, and I think in any other year he still might be a 5-star wide receiver. He still got offers from everyone in the country. And if A&M were able to get those 2 plus sign a guy like Damus and O'Meara, and that's when it doesn't matter what it's like.
That's what Clemson's got right now.
Yes, it's a great example. It's like when I went and watched A&M play Bama at Kyle Field for the first time in 2013, and I was walking down there warming up, and their running backs are down there. And I don't know what their running back roster looked like in 2013.
Was that Yeldon and Richardson?
Yeah, it was.
That was after Richardson. Yeldon, Derrick Henry.
Derrick Henry was like way down the list.
Who transferred? And that was
the guy that plays for the Dolphins that broke is Kenyon Drake. I mean, there were like 5 of them sitting there, and I'm going, these dudes are so much bigger than A&M's linebackers, and they all looked like Kristen Michael or better. And there was like 5 or 6 of them, and it was unbelievable. And you go, that's what A&M's receivers will soon look like if they're able to get those guys. And when A&M comes out and you're watching them warm up, and if they were going tight ends and receivers with Beal and Cup and Weidermeyer and all those guys, that's like what Ohio State would have when they were winning national championships, what USC had when they were winning them, Florida during their heyday. And I mean, we're going one position. But let me tell you something else. I don't know if they'll – I mean, we know it's a long shot for them to get Jaquelin Roy out of Baton Rouge, but they're right there in it. Howell was there this weekend. If they were to get someone like him and in 3 years in a row on the D-line get Bobby Brown, DeMarvin Leal, Jaquelin Roy, and keep in mind they were recruiting lights out around it, nobody's going to have that. We talked about it this morning and said, what if your second-team D-line was DeMarvin Leal – Jaden Peavy, Derek Hunter, and Jeremiah Martin, or Muhammad Diallo if he comes around in his development, because physically he's the one that looks like and runs like a first rounder. So if you went Peavy, Diallo, Leal, Martin, and that would be if that was your second team D line. I said, hell, by 2020, because that would be a pretty young group, especially if it was Hunter. But by 2020, be like that D line's as good as damn near any in the SEC. That could be.
And you're leaving out guys.
And you're not. The only one you're gonna. You could lose. You would lose Matabike and probably Matabike and Clemens off this one. But I'm telling you, that wide receiver thing could get crazy in a hurry.
We're going straight to spring brawl on the other side of the break. You listen to Beliucci Hour Lunch live on the Zone.
Talk 1620 WTAW. I'm Chelsea Reber with a news update on Sports Radio 1150 in the Zone 102.7 FM. The 6th time a Bryan man has been in the Brazos County Jail in the last 12 months, and the 18th time in 8 years. He's one of 2 men accused of taking $4,000 of jewelry last July. 26-year-old Jorge Contreras Jr. was arrested this week on theft charges from a kiosk at Post Oak Mall. The second half of the Texas legislative session is underway. Representative Kyle Cassell of College Station expects reforming school finance and property taxes won't be done quickly.
It's going to take, I think, the majority of the session, and, I hate to say this, but I don't know if we can get it done before May 27th, before we sign it out. This may be a long summer to get this right, because the kids and the people of Texas deserve us to get it right.
Speaking on WTAW's The Infomaniacs, Cassell says more than 5,000 bills are hung up because school finance and property tax reform have not been resolved.
Why did we not settle on this during the interim, and we could have moved forward, and then we could have got through this session in a timely manner and hit all those priorities? I think we had the opportunity, and we've just come to an impasse on HB3 and property tax.
Cassell says this week marks the start of 4-day work weeks for state lawmakers. A former Republican leader is now in full support of legal marijuana.
One conversation concerns states' rights to determine whether or not they want in on the flourishing cannabis business. Former House Speaker John Boehner used to oppose it, but now he says it's time for the Fed to realize that a majority of Americans clearly want this to happen.
And it's not that Washington is purposefully getting in the way. It's just that they have been in the way, and they're not getting the hell out of the way.
Boehner says he believes that voters will ultimately change politicians' hearts and minds on cannabis. At South by Southwest, Eric Lycum, TSN News.
I'm Chelsea Reber on Sports Radio 1150 and the Zone 102.7 FM.
Folks are always looking for a place to meet friends, grab some food, relax, and unwind with a cold beer, mixed drink, or glass of Boots Sweet Tea. The Tap on Harvey Road has been the place to do just that for nearly 30 years. A casual atmosphere and tasty food keeps people coming back for more. Our burgers, salads, chicken tenders, nachos, and more are sure to satisfy whatever craving you have. And being in SEC country, the Tap is a great place to meet before, during, or after the game. See you at the Tap on Harvey Road in College Station.
Kelly Burt Dozer has been clearing the path for progress for over 35 years. So before construction ever starts on any new home or business, your first thought and your first phone call should be Kelly Burt Dozer. Since 1978, Kelly Burt Dozer has handled hundreds of jobs throughout the Brazos Valley. They know the obstacles you must overcome to successfully excavate and fully prepare this terrain with efficient solutions to ensure a job well done, no matter your time frame or budget. That's Kelly Burt Dozer. Call 778-1902 or click kellyburtdozer.com. At Polaris Fun Center, springtime is the time to buy a new Polaris off-road vehicle. You'll get as high as $1,500 in financing as low as 3.99%. Live your life wide open in a high-performance RZR. Tackle anything from mountains to mud holes on a legendary Sportsman ATV. Or get more done with a hard-working Ranger. See Polaris Fun Center during the Polaris Spring Sales Event. Rebates as high as $1,500. Financing as low as 3.99%. Polaris Fun Center, just 1.5 miles north of Villa Maria Road, where they sell and service fun, not tractors.
The 19th Annual Twin City Mission Golf Classic is Monday, March 25th at the City Course at the Phillips Event Center. To sign up your 4-person scramble team or to be a sponsor, visit twincitymission.org or call Ron Crozier at 822-7511. Twin City Mission, providing a home for the homeless, being a friend for the friendless, and giving hope to the hopeless. To find out more about the services of Twin City Mission, if you may need a helping hand or to volunteer, visit twincitymission.org.
Welcome back to the Beliucci Hour Lunch live on Sports Radio 102.7 FM. Ryan Brauninger, Beliucci, excuse me, with you back here at the Tap on Harvey Road after a spring break where we were off last week, so lots to get to today. Don't forget Monday nights karaoke, Wednesday nights piano bar here at the Tap on Harvey Road. Luch, 2 days from spring ball. You've done a lot of writing.
Got a lot more to do.
A lot of writing to the point where you complained to me about it, which then I know is a lot of writing.
I came home from a weekend of Friday rodeo. I went to Spectrum, although to all my friends who went to George Strait this weekend and didn't think of poor little Billy.
Oh, poor little Billy.
And couldn't think to say, hey, Luch, would you like to come see?
Well, they probably had normal people seats.
Would you like to come see George Strait? And what? Why are they saying to cut what off?
No, you can't. His phone's up real loud. They're playing
video. If you turn the phone off the front table, y'all could hear me. And they're over here giving me like the hey, we can't.
No, they're giving it to him.
Oh, well, tell him. He's 2 feet from you. Y'all are pointing at me. Like, what in the world? What is going on up here?
Man, Everybody just hollering stuff out. It's like the Jerry Springer show.
I didn't know what was going on. So, getting back to the show over here, George Strait, thanks for inviting me. It looked amazing, a couple hours. But I did Cody Johnson on Friday, which was badass. Brawny, you would have loved it.
Rode away on a horse, I heard.
Yep, and then I went, and then Saturday, came back here late, got here about 3 a.m., and then Saturday went to Aggie baseball and then drove up to Dallas. Got there just in time for –
So all the complaining about you have to do with your riding, it's really on you.
Yeah, no, of course it is. Always is. But I went and I got back to – went to Dallas and watched the Errol Spence fight. Mikey Garcia. Mm-hmm. It was one-sided, but an entertaining fight. They fought the whole time. I like
Lancaster Tiger Band
involved. I don't go to boxing matches very often. I like UFC ones because the card is so much better. But I've been to a couple of these big event fights, and it's always fun. It's just something. It's a different thing than what I normally do sports, which is football, basketball, baseball. So I like getting to do stuff like that. But I know Mike Evans was there with Mikado and Darrell Walker. Saw them in the hotel. The big fight fans, 3 of them. And then Vaughn was up there in Dallas. There's a lot going on. But
we've
got back, and we have a lot of spring riding to do and talking about.
We've hit so much of this spring ball stuff, and I was trying to come up with just a couple of different angles.
Okay.
And, we've talked about guys that need to take the next step. We've talked, backup offensive line and the depth there. It's like we've hit every angle we could, so I'm scrambling trying to come up with stuff. And, Olin brought this up when I was hosting TexAgs Radio as a guy that he would like to see take the next step and maybe important for this team next year to take the next step. It's Seth Small.
Yeah.
How would you have graded his season?
I think it was all right. I'd give it a B.
Yeah.
Because he started out hot, and he went to, with slump. But he just seemed to – he made some big kicks.
Mm-hmm.
But starting with that Arkansas game, he missed those 2, and it really kept Arkansas in it. But he missed quite a few kicks. It wasn't – it felt like it was just like one a game.
Yeah.
But it was a big one. It was one a game. And obviously those 3 points in any SEC game are always going to be big. But it just felt like there was a not every game, but there was a miss a game. Everybody talks about the Mond interception against Auburn. And what everybody always forgets to talk about is the defensive meltdown the last 2 possessions. Mm-hmm. But right before that, you were up 24 to 14, I think, was that score. Or 24 to 14, 24 to 13, whatever it was. And you missed a field goal. And it was 24 to 14 because it wouldn't have clinched it. And you still could have lost 28-27. But it was definitely a momentum thing there. And there was just a lot of that. So, they need him to be better. He's got the NFL leg. He's got, when he's on and he's hitting them, very few look better. He's got range. He's got distance. Jimbo's not afraid to let him go kick it from 54 yards or so. But he just needs to be more consistent. But at the same time, you have to grade him on the fact that he was a true freshman that got thrust in the starting lineup a couple games into his true freshman season. And about a week later found himself kicking in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. So you do weigh some of that in. Because remember, Daniel LaCamera was pretty inconsistent in year 1. I think Randy Bullock, who won a Groza, was pretty inconsistent in year 1. Taylor Bertolet, Lambo didn't have to kick till he was like a grown man. He did the soccer thing, and then he backed up, and he finally came in for Bertolet because Bertolet was pretty bad or really bad early in his career, and then came back to have a solid, senior season in Aggieland. So these young kickers, as much as damn near any position, it's so mental, and when you're that young, it's tough.
He's got Caden Davis in here now too. Now, ideally, I think you redshirt Caden Davis to put some distance, but there is a guy there.
But you put your best kicker on the field,
right? And you have a guy there that has hit from 55 plus in high school, that enormous leg. So there's some competition now. Somebody to push that.
That's a great point by Olin, and I put him. I'm doing this one today. Is guys that have a lot of it's a very important spring for this guy or that guy. And Seth Small's on my list for the exact reason you said, Caden Davis being here. And again, you want a guy with game experience out there. So Seth has a huge leg up, pun intended here. There's a leg up on this competition because of that. But you're also going to put your best kicker on the field because, like we're saying, you never know when that one kick could be the difference in playing for an SEC title or not. You go back to that LSU game or that was in 2012, that LSU game where they left 5 or 6 points on the board in kicks, maybe more, 2 field goals and a PAT.
Point, yeah.
So, you never know when that game's going to happen. And so Seth's on that list. I have Derek Tucker on there as a returning starter at safety.
That was my other deal. Was nickel corner was my other position.
Maybe he goes into that role. Maybe they spin him down. Maybe he stays at safety and gets it done. But there were he's on that list of mine. I don't have the corners on there, but you could certainly say them as well because you look at it with Elijah Blades coming in. Hey, who's going to –
I would have put him on there had Blades been here or Eric Young been here this spring.
See, I would put him more now because it's here's your chance. You want to impress Mo Linguist and make him think, man, this is a different dude than it was in the fall, or he's completely turned a corner. Now's when you're going to get the most reps before the guys here that might take your spot, whoever that may be. I would say him. I would say, man, I was going to put Anthony Hines on there, but I just don't know how much we're going to see of him coming off the ACL.
All those knee injury guys.
And not that he has something really but he hasn't played a whole lot of football. He was a backup reserve linebacker as a true freshman, and that's it. So it would have been big, but fall camp will have him on that list. He'll be important there.
On the other side of the break, we'll close the show with your question from here at the Tabulous Zone.
He's a Heisman voter and columnist, and he's got a hot sports opinion on A&M Sports and the SEC.
Yeah, baby.
Olin Buchanan joins Gabe Bach on TexAgs Radio. Mornings at 8 on The Zone.
It's the 2019 Brazos County Youth Livestock Show. Events and livestock shows begin Tuesday, March 19th, and ends with the premium auction on the final day, Saturday, March 23rd. The 63rd Annual Brazos County Youth Livestock Show at the Brazos County Expo Center. Sponsored by American Momentum Bank, BTU, WRI Tractors, and Texas Farm Bureau Insurance. Experience all the excitement of the 2019 Brazos County Youth Livestock Show at the Brazos County Expo Center. For a full list of shows and times, visit bcyla.net.
Folks are always looking for a place to meet friends, grab some food, relax, and unwind with a cold beer, mixed drink, or glass of Boots Sweet Tea. The Tap on Harvey Road has been the place to do just that for nearly 30 years. A casual atmosphere and tasty food keeps people coming back for more. Our burgers, salads, chicken tenders, nachos, and more are sure to satisfy whatever craving you have. And being in SEC country, the Tap is a great place to meet before, during, or after the game. See you at the Tap on Harvey Road in College Station.
There's a Kubota for every job. There's a Kubota for every harvest. There's a Kubota for every task. And at Normandy Tractor, for a limited time only, let Vernon and the boys show you what they have. Get the new Kubota L2501 DT 24.8 horsepower tractor loader with quick attach bucket and quick hitch and 5-foot shredder now through June 30th for a cash price of only $15,899. Our payments as low as $160 per month based on 20% down, 0% APR for 84 months. And remember, most any trade-in can be your down payment. Normandy Tractor has over 8 acres of Kubota tractors, Kubota RTVs, ATVs, and Kubota mowers to choose from. Normandy Tractor voted best to the Brazos since 2002. Corner of Highway 39 and OSR in Normandy, Texas. Shop more Kubota package deals at NormandyTractor.com for the largest selection and guaranteed best prices on your Kubota tractor, ATV, utility vehicle, and farm equipment needs. Nobody beats Normandy Tractor. Nobody.
Everyone makes mistakes. Mistakes can land you on the wrong side of the law. If so, you need someone on your side. Steve Gustitis, attorney at law, has over 20 years' experience fighting felony and misdemeanor charges. Steve Gustitis will fight for you. Call now to set up your free consultation, 823-9111. Qualified people are ready to take your call. Call 823-9111 or visit CustidisLaw.com to see how Steve Custidis can put the law on your side.
Here's one question that has no wrong answer. Are you going to choose the new Shell and Fuel Rewards card to be used at Shell stations, or the Shell and Fuel Rewards MasterCard that can be used everywhere MasterCard is accepted? With both, you save 10 cents per gallon up to 20 gallons every time you fill up. And you also earn 10% rebates on your first $1,200 in non-fuel purchases per year at Shell stations. See? You can't go wrong with either. Visit www.shell.us/getrewards and apply today. At participating Shell stations only. Terms and conditions apply.
Final segment of the show here on this Monday afternoon. Ryan Brauninger, Beliucci with you here from the Tap on Harvey Road, Beliucci Hour lunch. Live on Sports Radio 1150, the Zone 102.7 FM. Couple of questions here, Liucci, from the audience at the Tap. Should we be worried about Liucci turning into a serial killer, the Cabbage Patch?
For cutting the doll's hair off? Yeah, that was – I feel like I've recovered from that and made myself a functioning member of society.
You know, that's one of those things like when you go sit down, if you had to sit down in front of a therapist and that story starts coming out.
Oh, I probably got sent to one after that. I think they tried to send me, like when I was a little kid, like I was getting in trouble in school, and they tried to send me to one, and I got kicked out for spitting on the floor. I was a bad kid.
Dude, the more we're learning about you. Like,
and then I started to figure out that I could do it without getting myself in trouble, and then I got to where I could, just instigate others into doing the stupid crap.
Your mom had to have been just losing
and then
her
it got to be where I was just like, oh, you know what? I'm just going to get by on my charm.
How long's that gotten you?
It lasted. I'll tell you what. I was pretty fun-loving and easygoing and fun until I had to deal with Gabe every day for God knows how many years. Between Hunter and Gabe, and now you.
Me?
Louie was easier to deal with.
I don't do anything. You call me complaining.
How did I ever know that Louie was going to be the ray of sunshine at lunch twice a week for however many years? You've made me miss Louie. How about that?
You have gotten a little frank as you've gotten older. That salt and pepper has gotten you frank, a little frank.
Yeah, and by the way, random baseball fan at Olsen, if I'm walking up, I don't need you to, and he's listening. I'm not going to name him, but I love him. But I don't need you to point out that I've got gray in my goatee. It's like I said the other day. There's two things I don't do to people. I don't say to my friends, or especially people that I don't know that well, just then when they walk by and just yell it out. Hey, you're looking older. Hey, you've gained weight. Or, hey.
Who does that?
Or hey, you're going bald. And my buddy, and I won't say his name, I remember like 15 years ago, he's commenting from the third deck. Oh, you're from up here, you can see a bald spot. I'm like, wait, you were losing your hair in college. How are you, like, what? And you're bald while you're saying this to me. So those three things you don't say to people.
Well,
I don't. So I damn sure don't deserve it on the flip side. Like, if you want to post workout videos of you bench pressing 400, then you get made fun of. If you want to make fun of the fact that I have this goatee, or if you did some kind of weird chin strap beard.
You think that I try to copy
if you wear some giant A&M starter coat to New York City, these are all choices that we make.
Right.
Notice I did like four of you, one of me.
Yeah.
But these are choices that we make.
If you want to grill steaks that look like South Carolina.
Yes. And post about them on social media. These are choices, and it's like, okay, if you have friends that are honest with you and you're good buddies, then you're going to get made fun of for acting or looking ridiculous. But things that you can't control, I'm not wired that way. For one of my buddies to come up that I hadn't seen in a couple of years, he's got some gray hair, and go, oh, man, you look really gray. Damn. Like, who does that? I had a guy, and I won't mention him. He comes up to me at the game this weekend in front of
you gotta quit going to
baseball. In front of Penny King and my buddies, and they walk up, and this guy used to work at Texas A&M for a long time. I'll say exactly who it was. It's Chuck Glenwinkle, our old SID. And he walks up and he goes, "What is this, the blank with ears section?" And just yells it out. Chuck's over here doing baseball announcing on the side. That with Chuck.
Yeah.
Here's the deal with Chuck. And I've been friends with Chuck for 20 years, so I can say this. And Lacey's a saint for dealing with him, his wife. But Chuck is from Belleville. So Hunter and Chuck from Belleville, then that explains it. So they have a free pass. Okay, so I expect that from anyone from the Brenham, Belleville, Columbus, that whole area, and my whole life, I've come to expect it. So when he walked up, I knew something was coming. And I tried to hide, and he caught me. I said, "Hey, what are you doing?" I go, "I'm hiding from Chuck." And he found me, and I knew the one-liner was coming. So, again, you can either be that person or not. I'm not. The guy at the baseball game that pointed out the grays in my goatee, he is. And my experience tells me more people are than are not.
Life lessons from Billy Liucci. We will see you guys back here on Thursday after spring football starts. Beliucci Hour lunch. Louis on the other side.